Today I fucked up by pressing the big red button. Obligatory not today, as many of these stories are. This was quite a few years ago when I was 16 years old. It was my first day working at a local large bakery/factory. I was shown to a conveyor belt and basically left to my own devices. All I had to do was put 6 Bakewell tarts into the packaging. Simple. Except it was really fast, and after a couple of hours my arms started to ache. Some of the Bakewell tarts started to fall off the end of the conveyor belt and onto the floor. I tried to hurry up and go faster but was getting panicky, and before long there were at least 30 Bakewell tarts on the floor. I noticed there was a big red button on the machine that said push in case of an emergency. Well, this is an emergency, I thought, and pushed the button. 10 minutes later I'm all caught up and I've picked all the Bakewell tarts up. I'm feeling ready to start again when some bloke starts barging towards me with steam practically coming out of his ears and swearing his head off. "Did you press that fucking button?" he shouted. I said, "Yeah, sorry, it was an emergency because they were going on the floor." He screamed, "Well, you've just burnt 10,000 Bakewell tarts. By pressing that button it stopped everything and they stayed in the oven too long." Yes, it was my first and last day. Too long didn't read. I pressed a button at work and burnt 10,000 Bakewell tarts. Edit. Wow, lots of awards, thank you kind people. I lost it at the 10,000 Bakewell tarts. So they left you alone with a big red emergency button and didn't tell you what it did? Yes. They probably told the next person though. Guess this is why they should clearly define emergency, lol. Yeah, someone should have told this kid, unless someone is dying or losing a limb, don't push this button. To be fair, they should have instructed you better. Yeah, who the heck leaves a 16-year-old alone for hours on their first day? Lucy? Lol, no, but at least I'm not the only one who has done this. Today I fucked up by googling my Tinder match. This happened a few months ago but resurfaced yesterday. I matched with this guy on Tinder back in November and we started talking. We hit it off, and after a few weeks of talking, we made plans to go on a date. Before our date, I wanted to make sure this guy wasn't a serial killer or anything, so I googled his first name combined with some info about him that was on his profile. I found his LinkedIn and scrolled through it. His headshot was not one of his Tinder pictures, but I thought it was a really good picture and he looked way more attractive than I originally thought. I thought to myself, this guy is way out of my league, and got nervous, so a couple times, I considered cancelling our date, but whenever that happened, I went to his LinkedIn, stared at that picture, and thought, nah, I've definitely got to meet him. I ended up going on a date and I'm super happy I did, because we got along really well and have been dating exclusively ever since. Here's where the fuck up comes in. Yesterday, I was over at his house for dinner, and afterwards, his little brother sent him his resume for a critique. My so gives me a heads up that his brother's gonna call about it, so I said it was no big deal and kept myself busy. While they're on the phone, my so asks his brother if he wants a critique on his LinkedIn profile too. I glance over to the computer while this is happening, and to my horror, I see the words, "So's little brother viewed your profile" on his screen. That was the moment I realized he pays for LinkedIn Premium and can see everyone who views his profile. I am signed into my LinkedIn on both my phone and computer, which means every time I stalked his profile before we met, he got a notification about it. Luckily he has never brought it up and we're still dating lol, so I guess he didn't think much of it. But for a brief moment yesterday I was absolutely mortified. I'm still cringing just thinking about it. TL, doctor, found out my so got a notification every time I googled searched him while we were still just Tinder matches. Edit, it might just be privacy settings and not LinkedIn Premium, but I still think there's a good chance he saw when I looked at his profile. Skull. Edit 2, y'all, I know it's normal to Google your Tinder dates. The cringe part is just that he might have gotten many LinkedIn notifications about it. BC his headshot is just that juicy lol. Edit 3, added strike-throughs. BC I stand corrected. Edit 4, changed the too long didn't read. BC I was told it was slightly misleading. To clarify, I accessed his LinkedIn via Google search results every time, never through LinkedIn directly. Edit 5, sorry if this wasn't as cataclysmic as some of you were expecting. I have a ton of anxiety, so I nearly died on the spot, which is why I posted here. Edit 6, didn't expect this to blow up, but thanks for the comments/stories and awards. Just wanted to share a silly little moment from my silly little life. Learned a lot about LinkedIn too, lol. Thanks everyone. I'm a head out now. Have a nice day/night/existence. I actually had the exact same thing happen to me, except I got called out on it, but not in a bad way. Matched with a girl on Tinder, we had this great conversation, and before she said goodnight we said we both wanted to keep talking and tentatively agreed we'd probably want to go on a date eventually. That night I tried to do a search for her on Facebook, but couldn't find anything. But I did find her LinkedIn profile after I googled her name. I look at her resume and the basic info, then as I was closing the page, I suddenly had this thought. I remembered that sometimes people are able to see when you viewed their profile. I basically shrugged off the concern though. I figured who's looking at their LinkedIn page often enough that they're monitoring who views them every time. Up to the next morning, I woke up with a Tinder notification from the girl, opened it to a message that read, "So does my professional background impress you?" I was so embarrassed, but she was cool with it and we went out. She later told me that she just creeped my Facebook like a normal person, lol. So busted. Thought I was slick, but he was always one step ahead. Honestly, if I were him, I'd understand the initial search and be flattered by the second after you went through with the date, lol. Sounds like you're fine. Haha, yeah, in the grand scheme of things it's NBD. Just wondering what was going through his mind when I asked what did you study in school, when we both knew I knew what the answer was. Also makes sense why one day he started talking to me about his work as if I already knew what he was doing, even though he'd never directly told me, lol. My ex did this to my LinkedIn after we broke up. Honestly, I was more flattered than anything. Probably your guy was too. Expecting ghosting, catfish, serial killer situation. Stayed for the cringe at the end. I always deleted his name from my Google search history in case he ever saw it while on a date, but this is the cringy plot twist I never expected. Today I fucked up by being a racist. Then got hit by karma. Too long, didn't read. At the end. Edited to answer some questions. It began 10 years ago. 34F, I'm an American. In 2010, I met an Indian guy who was an immigrant working here. We started out as friends, and after finding many things in common, music, favorite movies, same sense of humor, etc., we began dating. It was great, smiling face with hearts. He cooked delicious food, the sex was great, he was kind to other people, never bragged about his achievements, and most importantly, he wanted a family in future, and wanted to be a dad. I wanted to be a mom as well, so I was really happy to have found a guy who shares the same values as myself. He asked me if he could meet my parents. That's when things went south. My parents are very religious and conservative. He was a Hindu, and my parents wanted me to marry a Christian. I asked them to be polite and accept that because we are from different cultures, we obviously have different views on certain topics, so we should be respectful about each other's opinions. We were having dinner and my dad straight up asks him how is he going to raise the children, Hindu, symbol, or Christian, Latin cross. My boyfriend said, I'll leave that up to the kid. We will try to teach our kids about both cultures and religions, and they could decide for themselves after they reach adulthood. Think my dad took it as a personal offense, and started arguing with my boyfriend. Things got heated and 5 minutes later, we left. Looking back, I should have cut contact with my parents right there, as they have been very controlling of me throughout my life, but I always chalked it up to them being protective. At the time, I always thought, blood is thicker than water, so I, being the naive person that I was at the time, started looking at my boyfriend differently. My parents always tried to talk sense into me, whenever we had a conversation, about how us being from completely different cultures and countries will negatively impact our relationship in the long run. Will he go to church every Sunday? How would he do an X thing? How would he do a Y thing? I too started believing my parents, as they have been married for almost 50 years, so obviously, rolling eyes face, they know more about relationships than I do. After weeks of going through this, I broke up with him. I was completely honest with him, and told him about how him being from a different country will negatively impact our relationship in the long run. I am cringing while writing this, grimacing face. We would face many problems and it would be much more easier for us to marry someone from our own races. Please have mercy on me. I said those things a long time ago, and not proud of it. That was the first time I saw him cry. He told me that he loved me. He was going to marry me. How could I do this to him? How can I be mad about something he can't change about himself? I didn't care about his tears, his feelings. I convinced myself that I am doing him a favor, and if we both married someone from our own countries, we would thank each other in the long run. I didn't care about what my words would do to him. I am so pissed at my younger self right now. A year later I met my husband, who was a Christian, and from America, and we married each other after dating for a while. Couple years later, we had our boat a day I fucked up a daughter. Carried fast forward to yesterday, February 2021. I was at the supermarket, buying groceries and stuff. I was outside in the parking lot and that's when I met him again. OMG. It was that precise moment I realized, I fucked up. We recognized each other and exchanged a few words. He asked me how I was, it's been such a long time, yada, yada. He was with his wife and daughter, who is a couple years younger than my own daughter, and they looked like one of those happy families you see on TV. I, on the other hand, have been divorced now. Me and my ex-husband still talk, because of our daughter, and luckily, we don't hate each other, smiley face. I had cut contact with my parents a few years back, and looking at my Indian ex's family and his life, I wondered why I didn't do it before. He was in such a good shape, and so was his wife. I, on the other hand, while not obese, certainly don't look like the way I was in my 20s. And looking at his clothes, they were also in a much better place financially. I got laid off from my previous job due to COVID, and I'm currently working part-time elsewhere. And you know what the biggest, most fucked up thing is? His wife is also from America, woman facepalming. They both live in a different state right now, and are just visiting his wife's family who lives in my current city. So obviously, their relationship is a proof that even though both partners belong to different cultures, you can still make it work. Fucked up, but I was happy that he is happy now. We exchanged goodbyes and they went inside the store and I went inside my car. For a few minutes I couldn't believe what I just witnessed. Don't get me wrong, I love my daughter and she is the most wonderful thing in my life, but I can't help but keep wondering what could have been. That could have been my life, but now I'm a mess. I fucked up, big time. I wasn't able to sleep properly last night. A word of advice to all young people out there. I know the world has changed a lot in the last decade, but I still want to say this, just because you and your partner belong to different cultures, doesn't mean that you can never be happy or have a long-term relationship with them. Too long didn't read. Met a guy from a different country, broke up with him because of his race and culture. A decade later he is happy with a partner who is from the same country as I am. While I'm divorced and struggling financially. Edit 1, answering some common questions. 1. I have cut contact with my parents as of now. 2. No, it wasn't his success that made me realize my mistake. I realized my mistake years ago. It's just that seeing him suddenly out of nowhere made all those feelings of guilt and embarrassment come at me all at once. Looking at Valentine's Day celebrations all around me isn't much help either. 3. My father got offended by his answer because he thought that by giving our children a choice, my ex was implying that my dad never gave me a choice, which he didn't. So my dad thought that my ex is implying that he is superior than him and my dad didn't love his daughter. My ex didn't have any such intention. 4. Nope. I am not going to contact him to apologize. I made him cry, and I just don't want to hurt him anymore. At the time I believed that real men don't show emotions because my dad never did, and that made me treat him like shit. I should have paid more attention to his feelings, and I now realize just how much I hurt him. I don't think his wife would like that his ex-girlfriend is suddenly contacting him out of nowhere, and I don't want to cause any more harm to him and his relationship. I also don't want him to think that I am only reaching out for forgiveness. simply to make myself feel better or asking him for some financial assistance. I will live with this. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted to vent out, because this is too embarrassing to talk about with people I know in real life. Edit 2. People have been saying that they can't be really happy or they must have underlying issues. Why can't people accept that there can be happy couples out there who are genuinely happy with each other and not trying to put on a facade? The reason why I think they are happy is because I didn't just saw them from a distance. I had a conversation with them. I got to know many things about them. Trust me when I say this, they are actually happy with each other. You guys are watching too much TV. I know him well enough, since we dated, obviously. Edit 3, spelling, SMH, woman face palming. People are giving me grammar lessons in the comments. Believe what you want to believe. It was really hurtful to write this entire story and I was tearing up as I wrote this. Last thing I need are spelling checkers and grammar Nazis. Edit 4, I mentioned our countries of origin to emphasize our different cultures. We are literally from the opposite sides of the world. If just mentioned I am white and he is brown, people would have obviously asked me about our countries of origin and the cultures we belong to. This is not a post to shit on white people.